Welcome, everyone. I am Haven, the villain Pendergast, and this is Jack of All Trivia Presents. And I am going one-on-one with Mr. Grant Gregory. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing really well. Happy to be here, Haven.
Thank you. Yeah, man, you're a guy that a lot of people have heard about, but I figure, we'll talk to you in depth, and get some backstory of how you came about to being a force in the trivia community. When did you start watching the Schmodown, I guess?
I originally got into the Schmodown via just happened to be in a playlist. I was watching AMC video because I used to be big fan of John Campier's back in the day when it was on AMC Movie Talk. And he was doing a thing on a little segment on Jeremy Jahns. And I was watching a Jeremy Jahns video. It played that one. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool, sort of thing. So I started to get into that. And then, just one day I was playing StarCraft or something. I don't remember what it was. It came up, and it was, I think it was, I can't even really remember which match it was. I'm pretty sure it was Katie Sackhoff and Knapsack, I think it was. I can't remember. It was that long ago. And they'll do a little segment, and then I started to get into Schmo Bros, Schmo Knows from there. And then I was probably watching it for a fair bit, and then it was probably around the end of, towards the end of last year. So I started posting on the Facebook page. And from there, that's where I met you. It all started with a post that I did a recreation of The Shining, placing Christian Harloff in there and Samuel Bean's face popping through the door, and you turned around and said, "Oh, yeah, that shit artwork," and instead of getting angry and everything, I went, "Yeah, thanks, man." I said, "You got any other kind words?" And you said, "Oh, I've got a leg. You want to join?" I said, "Yeah, why not? I'm not doing anything else." And yeah, that's how I got into it.
Awesome. And you are Australian. So if the people don't know out there, that's
I've been accused of that before. Yes.
Were you a fan of? So you were a big fan of movies before you got into the Schmodown and the leagues and stuff.
Yeah. Well, my job qualifications are in film studies because I was in film school. I was lucky enough to have some great teachers and some pretty decent, pretty big heavy hitters in the Australian film industry. My mentor Steve Dobson was a cinematographer for Babe and for Moulin Rouge. So yeah, we got to meet a lot of cool people from that. And yeah, just really got into it by accident. Because I was always into computers, and there was no computer courses running, so I thought, well, I'll do this, for 6 months. I do this 6-month course, and then get back into computers, and I haven't left the industry since.
Awesome. So when you first started watching the Schmodown, like everybody else, you start watching, you start playing along. Were you keeping up? Were you beating the people when you were watching at home?
Generally no. It wasn't until probably towards the end of the year, once I started talking to people in the chat groups and started seeing all the different leagues. I mean, back then I was watching Schmo Bros, which is now Jack of All Trivia, and a lot of that stuff in there. I said, "Oh, I'm never going to compete on that. They are way harder than the other one." So then I thought, "No, I'll give it a go," and I started competing. And yeah, my very first match came down to the wire, and it was a tricky one. But yeah, then I just started studying, started talking to people, and getting, just meeting new people and finding out different films and everything, and certain films that I never would have watched, never even heard of. Getting to it, talking with Sean, some of the great films like Inherit the Wind, I never even heard of it. Stanley Kramer and everything, just obsessed with them now. So just learning more and more things, and it was one of those eye-opening things. I thought I was really good, until I started playing along and I realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was. So I had to up my game.
Oh yeah, but you've been you started off well. When you played here. You had you won a match, then you won another match, then you won another match, and you became a heavyweight champion. Were you was that a proud moment for you when you won a title?
Yeah, it was one of those shocking ones. It was because I was, you go into a match confident, but I was going up against bloody Jeremy Adams, and being relatively new in the league, he was this, I hate to use the word titan, but he was this titan. The Mount Everest of, we'll put it this way, he was what Dan Mel was back in the day for, um, for the Schmo
Trivia.
Bros.
Okay.
Yeah, it was insane. Um, but the reason why I've had more success in Jack of all trivia than I have in some of the other formats is my big strength is remembering people in films. A lot of times I haven't seen a film, but I remember going, oh, wait a minute, yeah, he was in so and so with Samuel L. Jackson. All right, Samuel L. Jackson was in that with that. So the round two format really suits me. Um, Generally, when it comes to normal questions, my retention is pretty good, but it takes me a while to get there.
Yep.
It amazes me seeing people, like Sean and Chance and Dom, that you're halfway through a question and they've got the answer, and I'm like, oh wait, I know that, and then I'm thinking, I'm like, yep, that's what it is. Um, but yeah, they got that rapid fire sort of knowledge, which is the thing that, if I was ever to do something like a speed round, I would absolutely suck.
You have your own YouTube channel now. Have you always had it, or did you get it like once you started playing matches? Or
I've got a few YouTube channels, mainly just for basically segregating what I'm viewing. I've got a strictly comic book channel, which is the Comic Book Lad, where I'm starting to post like comic book news and comic book related things. I've got my Mr. Grant Gregory, which is just my free for all, basically everything, which is currently where the Comic Book League lives. If you look in there, I've got one of my old films I did at film school with a buddy of mine. Low budget as hell, terrible, but a lot of fun. I got my MMA strictly one where I do MMA stuff and talk about MMA and that, because I'm a huge MMA fan. Fighting in general, I'm a big fan of. But I had a YouTube channel years ago that had minor success, but I got a copyright strike because I had a news story playing in the background and I fought it. So here's the thing: if you ever get a copyright strike, do not fight it, because you'll lose and you'll lose your channel.
oh shoot! Speaking of the comic book league, how did that start out? Were you always a fan of comics? Was that one of your strengths? That because I don't know how many comic shops they have in Australia, but you have a league. Why don't you tell the viewers about the comic book league?
Well, all right. Well, the comic book league is basically same as the movie trivia. Instead of replacing the word movie, we're using comics. So anything to do with comics, whether it's music based around comics, comic book TV shows, comic books themselves, comic book history, YouTube channels. We're trying to incorporate the whole comic book fandom. I hate to use the word geekdom, but the whole comic book fandom and love for it. I mean, when I was younger, I used to go down to the local news agency, and I'd get my pocket money on a Thursday, and on a Friday, every second week, an X-Men issue came out. It was either X-Men or Uncanny X-Men. I had a choice between four comics, and so that was what initially got me into it. And then X-Men animated TV series come on, and it was like, oh my god, like what I'm reading is coming to life, and
Yep.
there was a wonder behind it, and I can always remember sitting around with my friends and we'd do casting like before X-Men became a movie. We're sitting in science class, going, all right, who's going to play Wolverine? Who's going to do this? Who's going to play Mr. Sinister? And we had this whole group and dynamic just built around comics and the what if sort of thing. And then once I found out more about different comic book styles and different comic book artists and then even the difference between DC and Marvel, because back when I was younger, they were all just comics.
Yep.
I fell in love. The unfortunate thing is it's a dying industry, especially here in Australia. Where I am, the nearest store is about 500 kilometers away, and then the next one past that is another 200 kilometers further away. So I got to rely on digital media. I mean, I used to have piles and piles of comics, but now all I've got is what's on my computer.
Oh, true, yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, I know. It must have been exciting if X-Men was the only comics you were able to read, and then the TV show, then the movie, the first pretty much comic book movie with a good story and good cast. Since Batman and Superman obviously was the first X-Men movie, and then had your very own Hugh Jackman in it. So that was
it was good. I mean, I grew up with Hugh Jackman being the paperback hero and singing and dancing on TV. It was. If I was to tell myself back then that Hugh Jackman was going to be Wolverine, I never would have believed it. But now you can't think of Wolverine without thinking of Hugh Jackman. But I mean, that's the thing that's great about comics in general. What you imagine to be a character, someone can jump in and change your mind. No one liked the idea of Heath Ledger as the Joker. I can remember back in the day when it was, I think it was on MySpace, or I can't remember what it was. They were all calling him Joke Back Mountain. Was whatever everything was going around, and then now that's all people talk about when they talk about the Joker. They go, Jack who? Yeah, don't worry about him.
That's true.
Same with Wolverine, and there's certain I don't know, there's certain aura about comics, and I can remember saying that, yeah, comics are one day there's gonna be a comic book movie that's gonna be the number one at the box office, sort of thing, and then never dreaming about how big, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how divisive the DC universe or DCEU, whatever they're calling it now, is.
Yeah.
And I mean, the funny thing about it is, if Marvel, the MCU wasn't around, and the DCEU brought out their stuff, it would have been just as big as what the MCU was back in the day. But because now we're holding comic book movies to a higher standard, I think it's great.
Oh yeah. What's some and there's a lot of good and bad, about some aspects of this. But what's your most favorite aspects about playing in leagues?
Oh, competing. Just the idea of competing. It's half the time it's not even about winning. It's about getting out there and just testing yourself, because at the end of the day, we're not playing for a big shiny belt. We're not playing for money. It's essentially best case scenario, we're playing for bragging rights. But at the end of the day, I go home, look myself in the mirror, and go, "You did good," or "Man, that was a bad game." It's more about what you feel internally. Like, I mean, a lot of quiz shows that they have in Australia are based around just general knowledge, and I love those. Like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? There's one called The Chase, which is a lot of rapid fire questions. One of my favorite, because I just sit there and try and guess as many as I can, and if I get more this week than I did last week, I count that as a victory.
Nice. You had like I said before, you're still undefeated here, and you were the former champion. You gave it up. Now you're back. You played other places. You and Sean had a tag team match in Worldwide Movie Games that you won. How let's talk about that friendship. Is you and Sean? That's just a amazing thing to see blossom. The friendship you guys have.
Well, I mean, as I said, like most things, like the fact of the matter is that it came from an odd place. I was down the club one time. I finished chatting to you. I was talking to Harley Boric, and she said, "Oh, have you spoken to Sean yet?" And I said, "Oh no, which one's Sean?" Because it was just at the stage where I was talking about, everyone's starting to get into factions and everything, and I was really unfamiliar with it. And Harley was explaining to me the difference between a face and a heel, because not understanding the wrestling terminology. Yeah, it was to me. It was always good guys, bad guys. You know,
Yep.
whoever's on the Rock side's good. Whoever's on Vince McMahon's side is bad. That's how I knew. I didn't understand the whole dynamic of it.
Yep.
And then we started chatting. Me and Sean started chatting, and he was telling me about, Batman being his favorite character, and Shazam, and he's working on stories involving the two, and told me ideas, and we broke things down, and we just got really into it. And next thing you know, it's freaking 3 or 4 hours later. And then from there, I joined a mega club. Started to meet all the guys there, and because it was me and Sean, because Sean was really the only one that I really knew, we became closer like that. And I mean, it's been going on nearly a year now, and it's easy to say it's my best friend in the league. I mean, we talk to each other multiple times a week, and the amount of shit that we've spoken about, it's insane. Like, if there's a topic, we probably talked about it.
Nice, man. That was nice. Yeah, it was good. I hope everybody enjoyed this interview with Mr. Grant Gregory. Now it's about that time. You know, this guy, like I said, this guy's a juggernaut. He will tell you guys where you can find him. And when is, well, you probably don't know yet, but of course you guys could check out their team match. You know, him and Sean, they play as a team. You changed your name, I believe, for Worldwide Movie Games. But,
we were Sons of Apocalypse in Jack of all Trivia because we had our faction, the Apocalypse, there.
Yep.
But over in the other leagues, we're called Equipo Asesino, which is loosely Spanish for a killer team or a team of killers, because his name roughly translates into Hitman, and over there I was going by the Aussie Devil, El Diablo Australiano. So I thought, all right, well, let's just have a bit of fun with it. And so
nice. Yeah. So before we head out, where can everybody find you, brother?
Well, you can find me on the comic book league at Mr. Gregory, and now you'll be able to find me at Jack of all Trivia. So yeah, jump on there to the Facebook page and to the YouTube channel for more videos.
Oh, yep. Oh, shoot. You know what? Before I go up, you're gonna bring tag teams in. Is that correct for the comic league?
Yeah. Starting back up as of next week, we'll get back into the regular scheduled programming. So we'll have a couple of singles matches, and then we'll get into the tag team. So essentially, it's an unofficial tag team title tournament. So pretty much we'll get everyone to play a game, and whoever has the best scores will go up against each other for the inaugural title.
Thank you so much, sir. That was Mr. Grant Gregory, and he has his channel, Mr. Grant Gregory, on YouTube. Go check it out. He is very knowledgeable, one cool-ass guy. He's one of the most unique guys that you'll see in any league. He's the man. And, of course, I am the villain, Haven. This has been one-on-one with Jack of all Trivia. I want to thank you. Good night.